Hello, everyone, and welcome back to part three of my interview with Akira Togawa, Senior Director, Business and Automation and Intelligence at Harris. Welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
How do you prepare and lead teams through the uncertainty and challenges of rapid digital transformation? And what leadership qualities do you believe are most essential in guiding teams through this process? And I'm going to throw a little bit of a monkey wrench onto you into this question and say, and also from the perspective of leading the C-suite through this sort of uncharted water. So the teams you build and then take it from a C-suite perspective, because those folks have to be led to the promised land as well.
Sure thing. From I'll say the operational folks, we really need to be careful as leaders on what we're conveying in terms of vision and direction, because on the technology side of the house, on the innovation side of the house, we're going to try a lot of things. We're going to go down a lot of rabbit holes to do some investigation. And if we bring others with us who are from non-technical spaces, this entire change will be very overwhelming for someone who isn't a practitioner of doing this very day to day.
Hmm.
So as a leader, it's important that we insulate affected members and stakeholders of initiatives from the noise that happens with changes to the project or how many different platforms we're reviewing. Mark, there's, let's say, a million different software as service offerings that I could evaluate for a particular thing. And if I tried to bring in, say, our chief financial officer or our controller to evaluate and demo each one of these, it would be analysis paralysis, and this whole
Hmm.
project would be stopped dead in its tracks. So a big important part of leadership is insulating those affected people from a lot of the noise and the dirty work that we do. And even on our own teams, we get a lot of changes in direction, a lot of reprioritization. And it's important that we let them continue their sprints and we don't change the work that they're doing and let them see it through for just the cathartic effect of like, hey, I finished something and I didn't get pulled
Right.
off.
Yeah, that's a powerful point because it is a wilderness journey these days. I mean, so much of where businesses are winning is on the leading edge of technology innovation, and when you're on the leading edge of it, you're not following anyone really. You're charting a path yourself, and you've got that. I think that puts more pressure on the organizational leaders who sign up for the task. And as I mentioned, not only leading and developing the teams, but also leading and developing the C-suite that's asking you to do this job. So, what are some of the strategies that you use to help them get through and to lead your CFO or your COO or EO, down the path of support for these things beyond insulation? What kind of educational things are you doing?
Yeah. So I think the important thing is when communicating to them a new initiative. These, I think, the inception of new initiatives is really your one chance at a first impression with the C-suite, because there isn't a lot of time that we get with an audience. And if it's something new, then you need to come prepared. We need to have a plan of attack. You need to know your audience. Each one of them have their own personalities. And I think this comes with time, building relationships with them individually to know how to cater your responses to them. I find that the right amount of balance is how much information are we giving them so that it's enough for them to understand the cause without overloading them with information. But also, once we get them involved, what is their role in this initiative is really what they're after. So sometimes there is an approval mechanism. I need more money for a data warehousing project. Right. And they need to understand the ROI and those things. But what is their role in the data warehousing initiative? And we need to think about, a lot of times I can speak personally, our executive team is very much willing to help, but we need to ask for it and we need to be very specific about what we're asking for so that they're there for us, whether it's removing roadblocks or getting people that are hard to get together in a room together. So some of the specific successes we've had is, hey, what is the escalation process on a project when we're not reaching any progress? Where I have folks that are SVP level who don't seem to be able to do this. Are you willing to come in and make executive decisions in that capacity? And most of the time they are if we give them an informed decision. So I think having them have a little skin in the game is important because they do want to help. But like I said, making sure that they're fully aware of the scope of the project is also very important.
Yeah, I think that's really key. And I'm reminded of the fact that, no matter what the organization is, the people that sit in the C-suite are seasoned, experienced people who understand the guts of that business, and they've done it for years, maybe sometimes decades, without the help of the challenger, which is you and your team, the technology folks who are coming along and saying, "Here's a digital transformation initiative that will really make the doing of what you do better." And I think sometimes, our executives really want to ask a question. They want to be from Missouri. They want to say, "Show me before I invest in that."
Mhm.
And it's really important that we find ways to insert a level of confidence in something that generally they don't understand, and is a challenge to the way they know they can produce results for the organization historically. And I think that's a kind of a tenuous edge that you or ledge that you walk,
Yeah. Yeah.
if that makes any sense. Well, we're down to our final question, and this will be easy for you. I know some of them have challenged you to pull this together, and I appreciate your willingness to go there with me. The final question is about the future. So when we look out into the future, and I used to say, believe it or not, in 2020, I said 10 years, and that was 2030. But here we sit at 2024. So if we're looking 10 years, we're almost looking at 2035 when companies like Ford Motor Company have envisioned that all cars are electric. Who knows, right? But the idea here is, based on your experience and insights, what are the next frontiers in digital transformation that businesses should be preparing for, and how are you planning to stay ahead of that curve and identifying where you want to have your organization dive in?
This question, while you might have appraised it as being an easy one, I had a lot of self-reflection on what is the future and where do we want to guide it. It is a great question. So the elephant in the room is AI. I think it's still the new kid on the block, and everyone's still trying to find their way. We're certainly in that space. Everybody needs to recognize they have to make a decision. Either we are going with or we're going without. They have to ask themselves that question about Gen AI. And it's okay to say without, right? That's okay, but you can't ignore it. So in
Hmm.
our case, what we've done is we've said yes to it, but what is the relationship between it and our business? Where do we want to apply it? Is where we are going. We're not just jumping in. We have moral and ethical questions. Examples being, should we allow people to send generated emails automatically without reviewing them? Is there a policy we should be putting in place? How do we communicate that? All the way down to the infrastructure of, do we create private dedicated tenancies for AI, or do we use public AI? These are all the questions that is all brand new for us. And I mean, really, Mark, how long has this been around? Maybe a year in its
Yeah,
current state. Dude, this is
yeah.
new stuff, right? There is no path, as you said, for us to follow. So we have to be very cautious. But the way that I look at this is, okay, AI is a tool, but let's not lose the forest for the trees. What is something impactful, to your point, that we can do? And one of the ideas that I had is, how can we use a technology such as Gen AI to help us with safety on job sites? So what I mean by that is, every time we have a reportable incident on a job site, this is true for any construction company, gets reported to OSHA or internally, we collect a lot of metadata about that. Who they
Right.
were, how long they were on the job site, the weather conditions, the type of job, the skill they were doing, and we can put those in. And we could look at every single actual project now still going on and say, well, these are all meeting similar conditions. And we can go to the people in the job sites and say that there is a higher risk of a particular type of injury occurring on the job site today. We can also combine that with some technologies that can scan for if everyone has safety gear on. Everyone walking to the job site, do they have a hard hat on? Do they have safety gloves on? Do they have
Video
harnesses on?
analytics. Yep. Yep.
Exactly, right? So we can combine these two together to say that there is an increased chance. Please make sure that a safety officer walks around and gives people gloves if they don't have it. Make sure ladders are tied down. I think, to wrap it all up, it would be, really taking technology and digital transformation and bringing it all the way down to the real physical level of whatever business you're working in. So the lowest common denominator of what your business does is, and I don't have the answer across the board, but how can we have higher level digital transformation occur at the most analog level of an organization?
Yeah, I think that's really powerful place to kind of wrap our discussion up. Thank you so much for the time today, Akira. I really have appreciated having the opportunity to interview you and found our discussion pretty fascinating. I have been interviewing the Senior Director of Business Automation and Intelligence at Harris. And Harris is one of the major construction organizations in HVAC across the country and around the world. Thank you so much for the time. Any final comments you'd like to make before we wrap up the interview?
No, I appreciate your time, Mark, and appreciate the cause of CDO Magazine. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. We're trying to get the word out and to educate, folks that are in this pathway. And if any of our listeners or viewers have some insights that would be beneficial to Akira, and you could find him on LinkedIn, I'm sure he would entertain some thoughts and ideas in collaboration around some of the challenges that he's thinking through. Again, Mark Johnson, editorial board chair for CDO Magazine. Thank you so much for the time today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.